Okay, Cindy, so you spoke to Datuk Shahril Ridza, his first interview as Khazanah's managing director. How was he? Was he guarded? Was he clear-cut about what he's supposed to do, given the circumstances that he was faced with when he came on board?
He's very clear and very open as he usually is, as he was at EPF. So we had a very open, very frank chat actually, and he cleared a lot of things that people were confused about, so-called, and all of us wanted to know whether Khazanah was going to be shut down, whether the assets were going to be liquidated. It's actually not the case, and of course he knew straight away that he had to clarify what is it that the Prime Minister actually wants him and Khazanah to do, and they've gotten a pretty good clarity on that, and that will form, that clarity actually helped them form their new mandate going forward.
The title of the story this week, Man with a Mandate, right? So PM Mahathir, he criticized Khazanah for steering away, from its original purpose, hence the Khazanah's board cleanup that we saw months ago. So it used to be very, very GLC heavy. Now, how will things be now for Khazanah 2.0? What will its focus be?
I think Datuk Shahril was very specific on that, and Dr. M is actually correct that Khazanah today is very different from the Khazanah that was started in the 1990s. It was basically a holding company for the government's investment. And in the past 12 years or so, a lot of the energy and resources was put into making these companies regional champions, and Khazanah and also the government actually benefited from. They were very successful and they benefited from the growth in value in these companies. So, but you've come to a point where you will get diminishing returns for going down the same path. So, which is why it's important for them to see if Khazanah were to change where they are going to do now, which is why they have a 70-30 split in their portfolio. Because if they go on doing the same thing, then the value that they get from doing that same thing it's going to be less. So they have to do something different, which is why they're going on this new strategy.
Okay. So, like it or not, one of the things that had to be brought up quite a number of times in your story was Malaysia Airlines. Yeah, it missed 2 profitability deadlines. It's still making losses despite getting so much help from the government in the past. So, will Khazanah continue having Malaysia Airlines back?
I guess to some extent it will be a yes. Malaysia Airlines is under the strategic portfolio. Portfolio, but the Malaysia Airlines board and management are actually re-looking at some of the things that they're doing, because Malaysia Airlines is not entirely just about profitability. Of course, it would be good if they are profitable. I think one of the examples that was given during the interview was how Malaysia Airlines was able to come up with this plan for the Hajj segment of the population, and that probably it's something that can be successful. And Malaysia Airlines needs to come up with certain strategies so that where they are able to harness on their competitive advantage, so that they are able to be successful in earnings wise as well, and as well as playing a role for the economic development of the country. So we didn't get much details there, but Khazanah hopes to get more details from the management and the board of Malaysia Airlines, and so maybe we will get more details there.
So Khazanah will be releasing last year's results this coming February 28. But
yes,
Shahril himself said not to be too optimistic. But what can the market expect this coming, February 28?
I guess the market should already know that it's impossible for 2018 to be better than 2017 because of how markets have performed. But it's a number, and they accept that it's not going to be too good. But what's more important is how they're going to take the portfolio going forward. And I think Datuk Shahril admits that it's going to take time because you can't make large shifts in the portfolio because right now, I believe it's about 85% of their portfolio is in Malaysia, if I remember correctly. And a lot of that is actually concentrated in about 10 companies. And you have to wait for the right opportunity to be able to do any monetization or any restructuring because you don't want to diminish the value of the portfolio. So it's going to take time, and probably he said 7 to 10 years, then Khazanah will be able to hopefully the portfolio would be able to generate more income for Malaysia. And that's actually good for Malaysia because right now, I think we spoke about the Singapore example. Singapore has this thing called the NIRC, the Net Investment Return Contribution. And basically that comes from several companies investing. They have several companies contributing to the Singapore budget. So 20% of the budget actually comes from this investment income. So imagine if Malaysia, the national budget, if we have a pool of income that's able to give the Malaysian government 20% income, then there's less pressure on taxes, for instance.
For more on the stories, pick up a copy of The Age Weekly at all good newsstands.